we're about to start on the candidates forum, but we have actually a statement from a candidate who doesn't have any opposition, but wants to speak to you. So we have a video from Peter Donovan, presumed to be elected since he doesn't have an opponent. He would be here, but he's off in Washington, D.C., representing us.
Hey, chamber members and guests. My name is Peter Donovan. I'm coming to you live from my fake campaign headquarters. I'm also running unopposed for mayor for the city of Mount Vernon. I want to thank Andy and Sylvia, Jeremy, the rest of the chamber staff, board, and volunteers for making this very important candidate forum event possible. And for making special accommodations for me to speak to you today for just a couple minutes while I'm in Washington, D.C. on city business this week. So I know it probably seems a little bit weird that I've been given a spot to speak in the program today. And here's the deal. I didn't foresee an uncontested campaign, and honestly, navigating through what I should and shouldn't do as an uncontested candidate is a little bit awkward for me. You know, questions that come up: should I keep my meet and greet events through the summer and the fall? Should I still doorbell? Do I need to print yard signs? Questions like that. You know, who am I supposed to indict for fraud and launch an internal investigation against for corruption if I don't have a candidate? So I think you see where I'm coming from. It is a lonely place to be. But seriously, I actually feel a little bit of added weight of responsibility as an uncontested candidate to make myself as accessible as possible to Mount Vernon residents and to business owners. So I'm doing three of those four things. I'm still doing meet and greets and doorbelling, and I've even got a couple yard signs up. One of them's in Whatcom County at my parents' house, which is super weird, but still going forward almost as I would have if I had an opponent. So you might assume, because you're often tuned into national politics, that a forum like the one that we're having today exists for the community to listen to candidates debate, to argue, to insult each other. I think you're going to find that doesn't happen in Mount Vernon. But really what this event does is it offers a chance for all of us to learn more about who's running for office. And I don't feel like removing myself from that conversation and from this process just because I don't have an opponent is beneficial for anyone. So that's why I asked if I could record this invitation. And this is an invitation for all of you to find out more about me as a candidate, as the presumptive mayor of the city in 2024, as well as, of course, all of the other candidates. I hope that you'll invest some time over the next 5 weeks to really dig in to city government and figure out who is the most qualified, whether it be council member, a school board member, who's the most qualified to be making some pretty huge decisions about our future in Mount Vernon for the next 4 years. I love this city, and my service to you and the other residents of Mount Vernon is motivated by my passion for how great I think we can make Mount Vernon. We have some big obstacles to overcome for sure, but we have some enormous opportunities for success if we work together. I consider myself to be a collaborative decision maker and problem solver, and I always strive to inspire a perspective that meets the needs of everyone who's involved, because the future that we're all working towards will only be realized when the entire community is working towards that future together. I believe that in the end, this election will need to be about more than politicians trying to obtain a title. This will be about placemaking, about creating a safe and flourishing city where families can find opportunities for housing, for recreation, and for making a living. So thank you again, and please check websites, send emails, ask questions. If you really want to nerd out, attend city council meetings and school board meetings. Just engage. This is our city. And with that, Mr. Moderator, I yield the remainder of my time to my opponent. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Peter in absentia. All right, we're going to get going on the rest of our forum. We just got a little bit of housekeeping to do. Unless you want to do this like I don't know, is it the Voice? You know, you don't actually see the. Okay, I'm going to turn things over to Rudy Kerkvliet. He's the chair of our Government Affairs Committee, and he's also with Skagit Valley Neighbors in Need. Thanks for doing this, Rudy. Thanks.
Well, good afternoon. This is the first time I've done this in person. The last few times was by Zoom, so it's nice to see people. We're going to start off with some guidelines and rules that we follow. Our candidates will have 2 minutes of opening statements, 1 minute to answer each question, and 1 minute for a closing statement. Sylvia will be our timer and enforcer. At 30 seconds, she will put up she'll let you know when there's 30 seconds left, and when your time is up, she'll put up a stop sign. I'll allow you to finish a sentence, but don't start another thought or anything like that. I will cut you off because we do have a time part. The questions have been prepared by the Chamber Government Affairs Committee in advance. However, if anyone in the audience has a question, there are some cards and pens on the table. If you write your question on that card and get it to Andy, we'll take a look at it and see if we can ask it. But the questions need to be questions, not statements, and they need to apply to all the candidates, not just somebody that you may know. And the candidates, I want to ask you to please make your statements about you and your ideas, and not about your opponent. And with that, I'm going to thank everybody in advance for participating as candidates. This is, I know it's pretty difficult to put yourself out there in front of people and have them judge your abilities on handling stuff, but it's also something that makes this community a great community. It's when somebody once told me all politics are local, and when you get down to city council and school board issues, it involves everybody, and it has an effect on everybody's life in the community. So we're going to start off with the school board, and if we could have Laura, Caillou, and Dave Sherrick come up, and we'll start this thing up.
Testing 1, 2. Where's my microphone adjusting guy? Well, that's not good.
Where are my questions? Go ahead.
Well, I turn this one up.
You have 2 minutes. Each of you will have 2 minutes for your opening statement, and we're going to start with Laura. Introduce yourself and let us know why you're running the school board.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate seeing so many people from Mount Vernon being really engaged in our election process. My name's Laura Flores Caillou. I've been on the Mount Vernon School Board For 10 of the last 18 years and 2 5-year stints. I am so proud of the work that the school board and the district has done in that time frame. We've really focused on teaching and learning. We've improved dramatically our graduation rates. We just completed a construction bond that allowed us to build 2 beautiful elementary schools, Madison and Harriet Rowley. We renovated the high school campus. We have a beautiful old main building. We're adding classrooms at LaVenture Middle School. And most importantly, the thing I am most proud of is that we've created a climate and a culture that is creating a relevant education for the demographics and needs of our students today. And that's been a major shift in culture, and I think we're doing that really well. I'm a proud parent of a Mount Vernon School District grad. My daughter went on to the University of Washington to complete a rigorous scientific degree. And that preparation that made her successful at UW came from Mount Vernon School District. My background that I'm bringing to my board position, I've been a small business owner. I've been a nonprofit manager. I served as Dean of Workforce Education for Skagit Valley College, where I designed programs to meet the workforce needs in the community. I've designed programs that help students that are unprepared for college get up to college level and graduate. I'm used to handling a large budget, and if I am reelected, I'll bring all of those skills into the school board to continue to try to create places where students can really be very successful in their academic and future careers. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you so much to the Chamber for allowing this event to take place and for us to get to know each other a little bit. Sherry and I, my wife Sherry, are a little new to the community, although I was born in Bellingham just a few years ago. I'm the grandson of a Mount Vernon dairyman and a dike commissioner. And so in my corporate life, we were moved around the nation quite a bit, and I wasn't allowed to really get into the community and serve. But now we're here, we're retired, and it allows me to take on this venture, and I hope you'll find in my favor.
Write down and speak up. That's probably a good idea. You can do it.
All right, who can hear me in the back? All right, great. So in my corporate life, I was in corporate auto business, which meant Peugeot Motors of America, American Honda Motor Company. In fact, I signed Vernon Sims to the franchise when Honda first came to the Valley. And also Mazda. I started my car career in Mazda down in the Los Angeles area. Sherry and I have been married 51 years. We have 2 sons, and I'm a Christian. I have a 4-part plan that I want to share with you. And I think we need to start out with the question, are our students better off today than they were 4 years ago? Are we going the right direction? I think it's time for change. And here's my 4-part plan. I want to reduce the curricula where possible to give extra time to reading, writing, and math. Note, the teaching of sexuality, gender identity, morality, and alternative lifestyles should be the responsibility of parents and guardians and has no place in schools. Number 2, we wanted to adopt the use of a monthly expense statement for each school. This will mean the principal will be the general manager of that school and responsible for the expenses.
To interrupt, Dave, but don't go away because you're answering the first question that we have.
I'm sorry?
You're going to answer the first question.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to go away. The question is, the Mount Vernon School District had to deal with a significant shortfall when creating the budget for 2013 23 and 24. Do you think that appropriate cuts were made while minimizing the impact on the quality of the education provided?
Well, yes and no. I believe that some of those cuts were appropriate. I mean, cuts are never a lot of fun. But on the other hand, the administration, after making those cuts, went and added 3 more administrators at high salary levels. And that really is bad optics, sends the bad message to the teachers and to the parents who rely on their child being in front of the educators that they need. Okay.
Same question.
Right. So we were cutting budgets because there was a large influx of money during COVID, $7 million, and that money was going away. Also because our enrollments have been declining slightly in the school district, so those funds were no longer available. And the school board paid attention to trying to keep the services to students direct service to students, and also keep a clear vision for the future we wanted to create for the district by having the support needed out of the district office as well. We've gone many years without teaching and learning direction. Teaching and learning has to be the focus of our school district if our students are going to be successful. So it was both in the classroom and at the district level, you chose to protect what students had.
Thank you. You're up for the next question, which is enrollment has been declining from Mount Vernon School District, and what are the reasons for it? And if it is a concern, how would you should this be addressed?
Yeah, our enrollments have declined slightly, far less than most of the surrounding districts. So we actually feel good about the number of students and families that are choosing to stay in the Mount Vernon School District. But we always look at enrollments for long-term planning, especially around facilities. And so some of our plans for immediately trying to build more elementary and middle school space or even more high school space, we are backing off on because the demographics don't look like they're going to be there to drive that need. And so that's one way that we are shifting because of enrollment. But our enrollment is not causing the biggest impact. The biggest impact was the loss of COVID funds. $7 million that went into our schools, and we chose to use that money to provide the support students really needed at that time, which was staffing. And that meant when the money went away, we chose to also focus on where the ESSER funds were supporting the school, but we retained some of the social work and mental health supports we know students continue to need beyond COVID.
Thank you. The next question will be for Dave, with the same question. Would you like me to repeat?
Sure.
Okay, enrollment has been declining for the Mount Vernon School District. What are the reasons for it? And if it is a concern to you, how should it be addressed?
Well, it's definitely a concern. As I've been knocking on doors and talking to parents, I find that a lot of them are very disgruntled with the education that their kids are getting. The proficiency levels are very poor, in the 30% range. And we had all this money given to us by the federal government, and they put in programs that they knew they couldn't continue after those programs ended. So then there were big cutbacks necessary, and it looks like special ed people took a big cut. They all had para school bus drivers that were taking care of the kids, special ed kids, to allow them to get home safely and without a problem for the school bus driver. And a lot of those positions were cut. I think that there was a lot of mismanagement done relative to the COVID money.
Thank you. The next question will be for Dave starting off. The question is, it has been reported that students are experiencing greater mental health problems and teachers are increasingly becoming professionally fatigued. What is the responsibility of the school system to address these challenges?
That's a good question. You know, I don't know how many of you are aware that the school district just moved to put a mental behavioral health center in the high school. And I do believe that's going too far. Teachers and administrators should be communicating with the parents about problems they see with the parent's child, but it is the parent's responsibility to seek out the proper mental health doctor and to agree with the prognosis and the diagnosis. And we shouldn't be in that business. You know, a lot of teenagers need braces. Do we need to put a dental clinic in the high school? I don't think so. So I'm definitely, especially in light of the financial stress that we're under right now.
The mental health of our students is a serious issue right now that really has to come before you can get to academic success. You really have to address those basic needs of students to feel safe, to be able to regulate and handle their own emotions. And we have invested in a curriculum to help students, be able to name their emotions, handle their emotions, be able to engage with others when they're in emotional states. These are basic skills that we want not only in the schools, but when people go out into the community, that they're able to engage in a civil way, in a way that allows us to get towards solutions. And we can't even begin to address academic achievement unless we've addressed social emotional learning and a sense of safety in schools.
Thank you. Laura, you'll be first up on this
Okay.
next question. This is a question from the audience. For the school board candidates, what is your current involvement with schools and school-aged children? Do you volunteer in schools, or the Boys and Girls Club, or do you have any involvement with the schools themselves?
Yeah. Well, my day job is as an instructor at Skagit Valley College, so I actually get to see the outcome of the school district's preparation for students when they come into my classroom. And that's a really good indicator of what the strengths are and where students need extra support. I work on multiple task forces beyond my role in the school board. I'm just got engaged with the dual language task force. The last 2 years I've been involved with an inclusion task force. And so that's really looking at these students who have special needs and how do we integrate them in the classroom and then make sure they have the supports that they need, that they can also be successful in the classroom. My daughter has graduated from high school, so I no longer have a daughter in this school, but I still have friends, teachers that are friends, other people who have kids in our classrooms, and I definitely hear from them.
Thank you. Same question, Dave. Would you like to repeat it in the phone?
I have not been in a classroom, but I tell you this, I have attended a number of board meetings since March, and that's one of the things that really needs to be fixed for this community to feel like they have a place where they can vent and ask questions and get answers. When you go to a board meeting, you ask the board a question, they'll tell you right up front, we're not going to answer it. The acoustics are terrible, the seats are terrible, and when you look around, there aren't any parents that attend the school board meetings. And I think that it's very important that we have that communication, and those meetings need to be corrected. The audio system needs to be corrected, the seating, maybe the whole locale needs to be changed. All right.
We have time for one more question. Dave will be the first to
All right.
answer it. And the question is, Mount Vernon School District students, all of them go to college. Are they, in your opinion, are they well prepared to succeed as those who do go on and further their education?
I don't have a feeling for that right now, but it has been one of my suggestions that we have some post-high school graduation surveys done with our postgraduate people. Not only the people that go to college, but the people who go into the trades. And we should be, not only should we be interviewing the kids that graduated 2 years ago, but we should be asking for input from their employers also. How can we make a better product for you so that your business can flourish and you can hire more people and there'll be more spots for our graduates to stay here in Skagit Valley.
Thank you. We're going to go to our close. Sorry.
Answer the same question.
So one period of time at Skagit Valley College, my job was as workforce dean. So that was designing the programs that employers said they needed to get students ready to enter the workplace. And so I know that what all the businesses told me is they were less concerned about technical skills and they were more concerned about hiring employees who could work with one another, who had good teamwork skills, who had good critical thinking skills. And this has been a focus of our curriculum in the Mount Vernon School District. We now have social emotional learning curriculum in addition to academic curriculum, so that we do produce graduates who can interact with each other, work in teams, communicate with each other. In terms of, there is data about how many of our students go on to college and what their success rate is in college. And I know that of the students that go on to college, I need to stop, but most of them go to Skagit Valley College. So I'm seeing them right in my classrooms, and I know that they're prepared to learn based on their experience at Mount Vernon School District.
And we're going to go to our closing comments, and Dave, you have a minute for your closing comments.
Thank you. You know, our current board members have been on the board for a lot of years. And every one of them came first to the board as an appointee. They weren't elected. All 5 of them first came to the board as an appointee, and then in 2 years or 3 years, they ran as an incumbent. And I think it's time to bring some new blood in with some new ideas, and maybe to have some people who have got some finance background and have dealt with, I dealt with over 150 car dealers and trying to help them be more profitable, to slow down their workplace or their turnover, their employee turnover. And it was really good education for me in the real world. And I have worked in those dealerships too. So I've seen it from both sides, and I have some great ideas I'd like to share with the other 4 directors should I get on the board. Thank you.
Yeah, I have been on the school board for a long time, but that doesn't mean I've stopped learning in the time that I've been on the school board. So I was on for 5 years. And I was really concerned about the gaps in academic achievement between different groups of students in our school. So I stepped off the school board to go back to school and finish my doctoral work. And I have a doctorate in educational leadership and policy studies, specifically focused on the kinds of supports that allowed students to be successful. When I finished my doctorate, a few years later, there was a vacancy again on the board. And this to me is my passion and my life work. This is where kids get prepared to come into our community, to engage as citizens, and to bring, their ability to think critically and, be in relationship to one another, to what's going to create the future in our community. So So I'll stay on the board, learning and trying to make it better as long as you will vote me back into that office. Thank you.
Great, thank you, both of you. Good luck to both of you. Now we're going to start with the city council. We have 4 candidates from 2 different words. Start with the opening statements. We have 2 minutes, and we're going to start with Lucy. So you introduce yourself to us and let us know why you're running the school board and what you hope to accomplish.
So I want to start off by thanking everybody and thank you, the Chambers, for allowing me this opportunity. My name is Lucy Madrigal, and I'm running for City Council Ward 1. I am a Latina, a person of color. I was raised by farm worker parents, and I think that my, sorry, I'm a little nervous. My opportunity, being a Latina and working with our community has brought me to be here with you all today. I have worked with the Latino community for such a long time, since I was in high school, I want to say, and I'm really known well in my Latino community. And I think I can bring more perspectives to the city board, to the city council, and to the city council. And I'm young and I'm excited and know that I'm here to put in the work. There's still a lot for me to learn, but I'm here in front of you all telling you that I'm ready and I'm here for the long run. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to be Mark.
Good afternoon. My name's Navor Tercero.
Sorry.
My wife and I are 25-year residents here of Mount Vernon. We've raised our family and decided to make this our home. We have 4 children, and just been happy to make Mount Vernon our home. I'm also a business owner. I have my own upholstery repair business that most of my accounts are up in Bellingham, but I do have accounts here in Skagit County. So I guess what got me into running for city council was, looking around the country and seeing this shift that seems to have happened here within local politics, where we saw a lot of people crying, defund the police. And that really got me concerned about seeing that shift in our communities. I look at Mount Vernon and I see a lot of policies that haven't gone that way, and that makes me proud. But I certainly want to be a voice on our city council for our law enforcement. I see private property and public safety as the #1 issue for anybody who serves at our city council level. So thank you for having us here today.
Thank you. Mark?
If you don't mind, I'm going to stand so I can breathe a little bit. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Hulst. For those that don't know me, I've served on the Mount Vernon City Council for the past 12 years. Prior to that, I was actually a board member and past president or past chairman of this Mount Vernon City Council. So kind of coming back home, and it feels good to see some of really familiar faces. I own Skagit Cellars. I'm the winemaker, kind of the entrepreneur of the whole organization. We've brought some family in that is also working in the business, but we are an independent family-owned business. And I'm also the board director for the Waconner Chamber of Commerce. So since I first got on the council, I've made public safety a top priority. I feel that the security of our children, of our families, is really a top priority that needs to happen within the city. In that vein, I've received the endorsement of the Mount Vernon firefighters and the Mount Vernon Police Department. We just received their endorsement today, just to kind of reflect the work that we've done with public safety to make sure our community is secure. When it comes to taxes, you look at our tax base in Mount Vernon, and really we're dependent on 2 things. property tax and sales tax. And it's always been my desire, and continues to be my desire, my work's effort, to increase that sales tax base to reduce the burden on our families. And in that vein, we've changed some zoning, we've made policies to allow for businesses to flourish here in Mount Vernon and not have to compete with the city itself. My time is running short. I want to thank the Chamber for having us here. I want to thank everybody for being here today. And I really want to thank all the candidates that are here today. It takes a lot to put yourself out and be a candidate. So thank you all. We look forward to your questions.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Okay, I'm going to try and keep this tone up, but if I start to falter, just raise your hand and I'll pick it up a little bit. Hi, my name is Andrew Vanderstoop. I'm third generation in the Valley. Thank you all for being here today. My father was a school teacher. My mom was a speech therapist in the Valley. I attended Skagit Valley College. I went through a 4-year apprenticeship program right here in Mount Vernon, IVW 191. And I think I have a different perspective on some of the direction that we should take through the city. After I completed my apprenticeship, I started volunteering. I've been a volunteer for Habitat for 7 years. And through that, I became a board member for Friendship House and Welcome Home Skagit. It's the most fulfilling work I've ever done in my life. I see through the Planning Commission, I'm on the Planning Commission now, I can see some of the policies that we have and some of the ways that our nonprofits in our city could work together better. I believe the most urgent things we have as far as the city goes are housing and unhoused folks. And I'd like to prioritize those. After I became a board member and after I started volunteering, I went to the University of Washington for law, economics, and public policy. And shortly after I started that, my union picked me up and now I'm a representative for them. So I work legislatively at the state level to represent them. I hope that some of those ideas that we have from the state will help us better our community. Some of the best minds in our state are coming up with fantastic ideas, and I'm just here to serve you better. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to go on to our first question, and Andrew will be first to answer. And the question is, housing availability and affordability are major challenges for our area. What can Mount Vernon do to address the problem?
Yeah, I think that everybody wants a silver bullet. There's not a silver bullet as far as I can tell. I think the option is to do everything all at once as best you can, and then to go with things that are working. The state, is everybody here pretty wonky? Do you guys know like state policy and stuff? Yes, no? Okay, the state legislature has said that in 2025, there's going to be zoning changes and there's going to be things that are happening with ADUs. How we implement those is up to us. And I'm excited to be able to implement those in a way that will benefit Mount Vernon. The reason the state did that is if you look at our comprehensive plan and many other municipalities, we're not the only one, it can be quite exclusive for who can build what and where. And that's a huge problem. That's my answer. Thank you.
We're having some problems with people in the back being able to hear very well, so it may be a good idea for you to stand up and give your answers.
Do you want to bring people forward?
I'm going to talk my way. So, Mark, the same question, and would you like me to repeat it?
Would you please repeat it?
Housing availability and affordability are major challenges for our area. What can Mount Vernon do to help address that?
So the statement is absolutely correct. Housing is a challenge. There's a number of things that the Mount Vernon City Council collaboratively with other organizations have provided permanent supportive housing for the chronically homeless. We're currently working through a design review process. A lot of our requirements for multifamily housing is kind of regressive. We're looking at redesigning or evaluating what those standards are and maybe peeling those back a bit. A lot of times what we're asking for is a balcony on every apartment building or every apartment unit in a complex. Do we need that? Or can some of those units not have those, those balconies? Those balconies add additional cost. We've also put into place some bonus density that sets aside permanent subsidized housing in a lot of these multifamily complexes that we'd like to see built. So there are a number of steps that we're taking to increase housing inventory.
Excuse me. So one of the perks of actually showing up to city council meetings, committee meetings, which are open to all of us here who live there, they don't charge you to attend, is learning about what is going on, not just here in the city, but county-wide that the city is participating in. And there's an organization called North Star, which is supposed to help all of the different cities identify how do we approach this problem cooperatively. Because a lot of times what happens is the problem ends up being sort of a whack-a-mole, where in one city they do one thing and then this problem is, just shifts to another city. And so I'm glad to see that the city of Mount Vernon is engaged in this process through North Star in order to work with Anacortes, Cedar Woolley, Burlington, this county, Skagit County, in trying to address these problems. So.
Thank you. Lucy, same question?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Housing availability and affordability are major challenges for our area. What can Mount Vernon do to help address the problem?
I think something that we can do as a community, I think we should look at what is the lowest income in a household and what is the biggest income in a rich family, and try to see what is affordable in those places for those families. Maybe find everybody. I think there's like affordable housing is different in every section, and I think that's something that we should try to thrive as a community. I myself am not a homeowner. I can't afford a home, and I think a lot of the youth that is in my generation suffer from that. And I think that me being on this board can bring more perspective and more ideas as being in the city council.
Hey. Next question, excuse me, and Lucy will start off. The question is, businesses find it difficult to start or relocate a business in Mount Vernon because of the cumbersome process they experience to get the necessary permits. How can the process be improved and the perception be changed?
This is something that I have been talking to community with. There's a lot of Latino communities in Mount Vernon that have told me that it's really hard to get a permit for them to start their business in Mount Vernon. And sorry, I'm like so nervous. Something that we can do, I think, is try to challenge those permits as like, why is it so hard for Mount Vernon to get those permits? How come people from Mount Vernon have to go to Burlington, have to go to Cedar Woolley when they want to build in our community so we can bring money to our community? Why is it that we need to go, again, to Burlington, to Mount Vernon, to Cedar Woolley to start a business? Why can't let's say I want to start a business. Why can't I be here in Mount Vernon and start a business here? I don't want to go elsewhere. I want to stay in my community, and I want to challenge those.
Thank you. Andrew, same question.
All the way to me?
Yes.
Oh.
Or jumping.
Repeat the question, please. Sorry.
Sure. Businesses find it difficult to start or relocate a business in Mount Vernon because of the cumbersome process they experience to get the necessary permits. How can the process be improved and the perception be changed?
Yeah, well, this is a tricky one, and I don't want to put blame on any individual. I think everybody's doing the best job that they possibly can, so I'd like to start with that. But I believe that that's been a tonal issue. So, I wish I was getting paid for this. So I believe that's a tonal issue. So we haven't been clear that this is something that we're prioritizing. We want to make it easy to build and to have a business in Mount Vernon. That's something that we need to promote actively. We don't get to just say that we want that to happen. We have to try and make that happen. We have to enforce that, and we have to change how city staff approach businesses coming and people wanting to build in Mount Vernon. And once again, not trying to put blame on anybody. I think it's just a tone issue. And I believe that everybody's doing the absolute best. We just need to, as a community, make that a focus and make that understood. Thank you. How was that? That? Okay. I'm just going to Mary.
Okay, Mark.
So this has been a concern for a number of years as far as permitting, the entire permitting process within Mount Vernon, whether it's residential, commercial, multifamily, it doesn't matter. The permitting process has been cumbersome for a number of years. We're actually currently working directly with our new Community and Economic Development Director. We're looking at ways to streamline that. We've purchased software to allow folks to be able to go online, upload their project, take a look at what permits are required, have those things prepared, and have everything in hand so that when they move that over into the actual permitting process, everything is there. We're looking at design review standards again. We have a design review committee for the downtown community. We also have design standards in place. So it's kind of a twofold process that we're going through. We're looking at possibly eliminating one of those steps so that a property owner or a developer will only have one aspect to go through instead of two.
Well, I would just say that as a small business owner, and I've pretty much been self-employed most of my adult life, I would say that having somebody with that perspective really helps represent the average business owner that's here today. Having someone like that on the council, you know, a lot of times people don't understand this about being a business owner. You're the last one to get paid. You sign everybody else's paycheck before you ever get to take something home. And so, you know, having somebody who understands that. The other thing that I would say is I would encourage you all to, for instance, participate when planning commission positions come open. You know, having a small business mentality is so important to understanding how all of these permits go through the permitting process, what policies are changed. So I would just encourage those of you who are here today to consider getting involved in the planning commission.
Third question will be, and we'll start this one. What is your view of the status of public safety in Mount Vernon, and how would you improve it?
Well, I think I'd start with an encouraging tone in that I'm glad to see that the city of Mount Vernon has decided to take a stand against campers being allowed downtown, you know, people just camping out on our public land. So I'm glad to already see those types of policies being enforced here in Mount Vernon. You know, I can see where we need more police officers. I am glad that we have seen fit to bring alongside our police officers people who understand social services and make that part of our policing here in Mount Vernon. So I think that's important. You know, I think that we need to cooperate with our fellow cities here in Skagit County in order that we're able to offer resources to people who are currently homeless. So, you know, cooperating that way, I think, is really important for our city government to find those issues there. So thanks.
Thank you. Lucy, same question?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What is your view of the status of public safety in Mount Vernon, and how would you improve on it?
Okay. So for me, when I think about public safety, I think about the police officers. And right now, we know that, right, a lot of police officers have a bad image because everything we see in social media, we know that a lot of them, there's a lot of good and bad cops out there. And in my community, a lot of kids don't trust the police. And I would definitely love to work with the police department and our schools and our kids to build that trust with the kids, to not be afraid of the police, and how we can work together to have more safety in our community.
Thank you. Same question for Andrew.
One more time, repeat, please.
Sure.
Sorry.
What is your view of the status of public safety in Mount Vernon? And how would you improve it?
Status of public safety in Mount Vernon. I think that we have an incredible police force. I think that they do a wonderful job. They really embody community policing in a lot of ways. I think that the only thing that I would say is that we're 7 short right now out of a 43, and you have all the stats, so quote me interrupt me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have 43 officers and we're 7 down. We need to improve upon that. I was so delighted to hear that we're paying retention bonuses and hiring bonuses to try and capture more police officers. And I want to see more of that. I want us to have a full police force. Alongside that, I think iOS is one of the most incredible programs I've ever come across. Integrated outreach services, that's for social workers who are going alongside the police officers. They have plans for the future of getting mobile pharmacy to help folks that are unhoused maybe fill prescriptions where they are instead of moving them to a hospital. I think that we want to support iOS in any way possible in our police force. Thanks. How's the volume? Still good? Okay.
Mark?
So Andrew's right. We are down 7 officers currently in the police department. Council just took action a couple of weeks ago to incentivize employment with the city of Mount Vernon. We need to be competitive, and so we put into place a bonus program for folks to come over, do lateral transfers into Mount Vernon. We're seeing some results from that already. We're already seeing some of the applications come in. We also have a retention aspect of that too. We don't want to lose officers that are expired. The embedded outreach services program is a new program. We piloted it with an embedded social worker. We've now expanded that. It's almost a separate division within the police department. And it reaches out to those that are chronically requesting calls for service. My understanding is we had 8 individuals within the city of Mount Vernon that they accounted for 900 calls a year for those 8 individuals. I've got to stop. I'd love to share this with you. It's a story about a gentleman that was arrested for shoplifting a year and a half ago and is now in permanent supportive housing, is clean and sober, and is working to be a productive citizen.
I'll just say Sandy. This will be the last question. What can be done so that Mount Vernon is competitive to bring in new businesses and retain old businesses?
So a lot of our struggles is with what we actually have available for commercial property. So one of the things that we can look at doing is moving out into our urban growth area. We have our boundaries, and then there's an urban growth area that was set by forget the legislation. It was 1993. I can tell you that. Anyway, it allows us to expand our city limits, and we really need to look at what type of businesses are wanting to come and where they could be located, and we may need to look at expanding those boundaries to allow those businesses to come. On the incentive side of things, we need a really good workforce. We need a workforce that is skilled in the trades type work, and we also need adequate housing. So we need to look at some ways to supply workforce housing.
Same question, Vernon?
So this is a really big question, maybe something more than just a couple of seconds here in a candidate forum, but I'm just gonna concentrate on the downtown area because there's a lot of exciting things that are going on down there. There's the Library Commons, and that is going to be the centerpiece of a lot of other development that's going to go on downtown. Having the additional parking, having the space there. So that's a great facility there that the city has constructed there, and I think will be just a great centerpiece, like I said, of what economic development can happen downtown. Now, there's a lot of other things, and I know that there's studies on the horizon about how we can better use some of the space or some of the property we have downtown. And so I would like to see our downtown basically become for us what Fairhaven is to Bellingham. You know, just this place that attracts people to Mount Vernon and says, yeah, we have to go get dinner there. We have to go, you know, to an event there. So there's a lot of great things, a lot of great opportunities that are on the horizon for Mount Vernon.
Thank you. Lucy?
Thank you. So I myself was recently in downtown door knocking on stores and local shops, and I took a second to realize that I myself don't go to downtown that often. I just don't have the time. I don't relate to a lot of the things in downtown, and I think that's something that we can do is create new businesses or local shops that grabs more folks to come downtown and spend more time, like my compañero Navor said. I think that that's something that we can do as a community, somewhere where I can relate to, so more folks in our community that relate to different types of stores can go to downtown. And I think that that's something that we should do as a community.
Thank you. Andrew?
Repeat one more time, sorry.
Sure. What can be done so that Mount Vernon is competitive to bring in new businesses and retain ones?
So I love downtown, and I think it's fantastic. But I would say that in my career as the union commercial industrial electrician, which I believe is a fantastic job, I want to promote more jobs like that. So that's actually what I do for work, ironically. We are the only county in the state that is slated for a hydrogen fuel cell plant to be built here. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but those are things that I get to talk about. And that's what I want to focus on, is big projects that bring industry, careers, not just jobs to get you by. I want to focus on making sure that our high school students have the ability to join apprenticeships and get those wonderful jobs and then be employed for lifetimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, that concludes the questions. And now we're going to the closing comments. You'll have 1 minute, and we will start with the floor.
Well, thank you very much, Chamber members, for inviting us to come speak with you today. It's always great to see fellow business owners, fellow business people doing what you have to do here in the city of Mount Vernon. So thank you very much. You know, the thing that I would encourage you to do, and something that I have found so important throughout this process of running for city council, is just visiting city council meetings. It is a little bit disheartening to see how few people actually show up to a city council meeting or some of these committee meetings that are open to the public. Any one of you could show up, and it is a real education to hear sort of what's going on here in the city that affects every single one of us. And so I would just encourage you, take time on a Wednesday evening and show up to a city council meeting. And I think that you'll appreciate what goes on here in the city that much better. Thank you again. Navor Tercero.
Thank you. Lucy?
I also want to thank you all for taking the time today. I'm letting you know that I'm here being vulnerable to you all. I might have not answered questions as you all wanted me to. I'm nervous. This is my first time being running for something like this, and I just want to make my community proud. And I want to make you all proud as well, because this is my community. I was raised here, and this is where I want to raise my kids in the future. So vote for Lucy Madrigal.
Andrew?
Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for listening to me blabber. I really appreciate it. I'm just trying to help as much as possible. So win, lose, otherwise, if you love me, hate me, please reach out. I have a million blind spots. I'm a lifelong learner. So please reach out. Please communicate with me. I would love to hear from you and to hear what you think. And thanks for being here.
Last one, at least, Mark.
Again, thank you for having us here. I've served on the city council for 12 years now. There's a number of faces out here that I recognize, and I have to say that one of the greatest rewards for me is one of my constituents reaches out to me with a concern or a problem, and they don't know what to do with it. And I'm able to walk them through the process and collaboratively work with staff to resolve those issues. It's one of the biggest rewards, I think, as a council member you have. And I can look out in the crowd, and I can see a number of faces that have contacted me, and we've been able to resolve some of those issues. City council has really two main jobs. Our job is to write a budget and to set policy. Writing the budget can sometimes be challenging depending on how economic times are. Setting policy, what we need to do is we need to look at the community as a whole and just make our decisions on what's best for the entire community. Again, I appreciate you having us here today. I ask for your support in the upcoming election, and together we can continue to make Mount Vernon the best it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So that concludes this portion of our meeting today. And I want to thank